This is the lecture for the ART159 Graphic Design Layout course. We're going to be looking at the product brochure and the interior spreads for this product brochure. So first off, we want to make sure that you have the information that is necessary to be included within this project, making sure that the images you use are purposeful images, high resolution, making sure that you have some sort of headline and then some sort of concise text with clear hierarchy. Of course, bringing any branding elements from that particular brand into the space and making sure that somewhere on the brochure you have this contact information as well, this sort of call to action. Typically that's going to be on the cover and the back cover. So just to review these purposeful visuals, the imagery that you use should draw attention to the brochure, and on the cover you should have that be somewhat simplified using maybe one basic image, maybe two if you are bringing in the isolated product as well, but that should stand out and also be consistent with the overall brochure design. So here we have an example from a student of an interior spread, and we can see how they're bringing back in the logo for this particular product. So the actual logo for the brand is the SE, but here they have an additional logo that they're using for this particular product. And we have this clear imagery that's spanning through both pages. We have two facing pages that creates that larger spread. And we also start to see this hierarchy of information. So as you are working through the interior of the brochure, make sure that the text is concise. And again, you are working to achieve this sort of typographic hierarchy, right? Making sure that you're communicating the brand's message to the readers. And the subheaders that is in the body copy should be a place where information is available to skim through and see what some of the product brochure is going to offer. Basically creating these little checkpoints for you to kind of see what that company is all about. So here we can see an example of this, and we see that there's three levels of hierarchy here. We have our headers that are in the capital, larger blue lettering here in this sort of lighter style typeface. Then we have the subheaders, which is in red here. It's in a slightly larger size than the body, but smaller than the headers. We're using lowercase and uppercase, and of course the red color. And then we have the body copy, which is going to be the smallest area of information, but it's also going to have the most text within that space as well. So you should be working to achieve three levels of this typographic hierarchy, and then using styles to create those particular styles so that you can apply that so that there's consistency throughout the interior of the spreads. And again, just review here a little bit, make sure that you're bringing in any branding elements that make sense for this particular product brochure. So in the previous example that we saw, they brought in a logo for this particular product here, or maybe even a logo for the actual company. Making sure that the logo is somewhere placed within your brochure. Obviously on the cover you want to have that, potentially on the back cover, and maybe even in the interior spreads there as well. And then starting to also look at alignment here within the space. So we can see that within the interior spreads of this example here, we have two facing pages, and in each one of these pages there is a grid that they're utilizing. So here we can see that there's three columns that they're utilizing within the space. Over here, they're actually using three columns, but they're spanning those out to two different columns for each text box. And we still see this typographic hierarchy. So we can see that there is a header up here, the subheaders within the space, and then the body copy. Now remember, for your headers, you do need to use actual text, something that makes sense in relation to your product. But for your subheaders and your body copy, that can be placeholder text. So that's not going to be actual text. It's just getting the idea of what that's going to look like when there is text there. Another thing that's happening in this particular brochure is they're using this text wrap around the image to have the text boxes sort of fit the form of that particular image or product that's being featured. And we'll take a look at that in the tutorial. So you should have already completed your front cover. This is sort of a sequence of events, right? If you think about the front cover, it's intended to draw the viewer in, giving them some sort of reference about what this product is, somewhat simplified inside the space, maybe one clear image, maybe two if you're highlighting something from the actual product itself. And of course, having the logo inside there and the name of the particular product as well. So we can see an example of that being done here. Fairly simple, featuring the product. We have the logo inside the space and then the text information that lets us know what this is all about. And the back cover should end with the sort of call to action here, right? So by the time they get to the back cover, they've already found out information about the actual product. Now you are trying to convince them to either make a purchase, donate to your cause, visit your event, or follow you on social media. So you want to have some sort of additional information there on the back, but again, most importantly, you want to make sure you have this call to action or this contact information in relation to that brand or company. We can see that done here. So here we can see they're featuring some additional images of the actual product and some accessories that are available for this product. And then we can see that they are including the contact information down here below with the actual name of the company, the address, and then the website. So looking at your interior spreads here, this section has the purpose of giving details about your product. So the front cover is introducing what that product is. The interior spreads is giving all of the information about that product. And then the back cover might be giving you a little bit of information, but is again, sort of wrapping up the brochure, giving you that call to action within the space. So for your interior spreads, you should have two facing pages. This is, or I should say interior spread, singular. This is going to create one spread here where we have two pages. Within the margins, or these pink or purple lines here, we can see that this is our live area where all of our information is going to sit. And within the layout, you want to create some sort of guides for yourself. In this case, I have 3 different columns on each page. And in between those columns is going to be a gutter where you are going to have that information separated from the additional information inside the space. Now going back to the grids and modularity practice that we did in the beginning of the class, this is very similar to that, where we have this sort of grid and we're trying to create these framed images and framed text boxes within that grid. Oops, let me go back here. So again, when you go to create your actual guides here, you're going to go up to layout at the top of the InDesign page. You're going to go to create guides, and you want to make sure that you align your guides to the margins of the document, not the page. That will position your columns within your live area and your margins so that those are all even within the space. Once you have your guides set up, you can start to place your rectangular frames within the space where you can drop your images and or text. So again, using the rectangular frame tool, you're going to create these areas that bridge these gaps between these different columns, being mindful of those gutters. So if it's going to span into the next column, it should stop before the gutter. If it is an image that is intended to be a full bleed, then you want that image to go all the way outside of your page to this red bleed line here, so that you're going to accommodate for that printing process. So once you have created those rectangular frame boxes, you're going to go to File, Place, and then you're going to locate the images that you are using. And using the fitting options, you're going to place that image and fit it accordingly to that box. Please make sure not to distort the image when you are placing that inside there. So the frame of the image is the area where you want the image to go, placed with inside the grid. You can see that oftentimes when you place that image, it is not going to fit that frame perfectly. So you can use those frame fitting options to fit that proportionally within the space, and you can always use your white arrow tool to move that around within the space inside your frame as well. In addition to the imagery, you're also going to be using placeholder text for this different areas of information. So you are going to create text boxes. Once you create those text boxes, you can either right click and go to fill with placeholder text, or you can go up to the top, select on type, and then go down to fill with placeholder text. This will use the lorem ipsum, or the nonsensical Latin words, to create that look and feel of what it's going to look like when you have actual text within the space. Once you've placed that text, then you're going to use paragraph and character styles to customize the hierarchy. So you should have 3 levels of hierarchy. One for your header, the largest copy, which is going to use actual text. One for your subheader, the middle size copy, which is going to use placeholder text, and your body text, which is going to be the smallest copy and again use placeholder text. So you can see an example of this here where we have this imagery on the page and we have 3 levels of hierarchy. It's important to make sure that you're choosing a typeface that's going to work well within the system. So you should be using one typeface for all of this information. So make sure to choose a typeface that has multiple styles: bold, condensed, extended, italic, so on and so forth. That's going to make your job a little bit easier because now you can use different styles within the different sizing and colors to further differentiate those 3 levels of typographic hierarchy. So we're looking at these 3 levels here. Again, the first one being your headings. This is going to be the most important information and should be the most noticeable within your layout. This is why we're using actual text for your headings. You can pull from the website or the actual product information that you have, or you can make that up if needed. The second level is going to be your subheadings. This is going to be integrated within your body copy. So essentially this is going to be little checkpoints within the full article that breaks that up, giving you some information about what those additional paragraphs are going to be about within the body copy. And then your body copy will be the most dense text that you have. This will be the smallest text and the least emphasized text within your space as well. So make sure, again, to use a typeface that is going to work within all 3 of these levels and be able to be easily readable, as well as having options to use within the space. So you should have already chosen a product or a service and gathered images for that. Again, make sure that you're using high resolution images to populate the entire brochure. Maybe using some where you are having an individual interact with that product or having some sort of model within the space, and other images that are just the product itself. Maybe it's close-ups or some sort of imagery that is giving you details about what that product is and the features available for that product. And again, you should be using 3 levels of hierarchy within that space. So that concludes the lecture for the product brochure interior design spreads. Please reach out if you have any questions.